Okay. So now we need to go ahead and figure out, how much time we think our opponent's going to have. And before we get into that, before we talked about the speed of your defender, what position he's at on the field. Is he a linebacker? Is he a safety? Is he a lineman? Or, is he at that spot on the field? You might have a linebacker at D end. If you audible down, crazy as it sounds, you can have a safety at defensive tackle. So, you can user anybody. I mean, user and a safety at D tackle is basically high speed, low risk type of thing. But if they run the ball, then you might be in trouble. But basically, this next step, and what we're going to be talking about in this video, is really coming down to how much time you think they're going to have in the pocket. And why does that, what I'm saying, affect how you user? Well, for one, it's going to affect which routes are going to be open. If you expect to sack them in about 2 seconds, most deep routes in the game aren't going to develop at that point. Most deep routes in the game aren't going to get open. The only thing that could possibly get open in 2 seconds, as far as deep down the field, is a streak. That's it. Pass lead streak, possibly. Maybe a streak over the top if you're playing man press with, no safety help. But for the most part, nothing downfield is going to develop. So that's why it's critical to know how much time they're going to get. Whereas if you're in a defense like this, you got a 2-man rush. It's anyone's guess when that pressure is going to get there, but it's probably going to take a while. So you have to be prepared, to be in coverage for a while as well. So you have to be prepared, for the deeper stuff. He's got wide open here. So stuff like that. Like, you have to understand that however long they're going to have in the pocket is how long you're going to need to be, playing user coverage and stuff. So if you've got a fast blitz coming, or you got a good blitz coming in, you need to, account for that. Account for that. Play your user D accordingly. If you're bringing a heavy blitz, typically you're going to want to watch those pass lead streaks. You're going to want to watch the short passes, the flat passes, the underneath routes and stuff like that. Whereas if you're playing a max coverage defense, you may or may not you need to really key in on the stuff down the field, or you need to key in on those slowly developing routes, the wheels, motion fades. You still got to cover the underneath stuff as well, but now you have to account more so for the deeper stuff down the field too, included with that. So again, on our first few drills, we basically covered how to cover those streaks with the corner. Then we basically covered how to cover the streaks with the safety. Then we talked about why speed and, basically all those physical attributes are so key to know with the player that you're using, so the angles to take, how far ahead to play somebody and stuff like that. Which angles, how to cut people off and stuff like that, depending on, how fast your guy is. And then that brings us to this, which is basically having an idea of how long your opponent's going to have in the pocket. Is the play you're running going to give them a good opportunity to run with the quarterback? A play like this, he's probably not going to be able to run left with the quarterback. Now, if I do this here, he's probably not going to be able to run to the right with the quarterback. But with this setup, he's going to probably be able to go right up the middle with the quarterback. You know what I mean? If I got a setup like this, he's probably going to be able to run anywhere he wants with the quarterback at any given time. So, you have to account for that as the user as well. So if you're playing that middle responsibility, if you're playing that spy responsibility, you really got to worry about that. Now, if we do something like this, where, we got a couple contains, we've got these guys going hard up the middle. I mean, he may be able to get loose with this quarterback, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You know what I mean? So whereas here, you don't have to worry about the quarterback as much. Now, again, you still have to account for him, but it's not as much. You know what I mean? So your responsibility towards him might shift from 80%, 90% him running to maybe a 10-15% chance he's going to run now. So that difference is going to also affect how deep down the field you play, how much you commit to the QB. So again, in this case, the blocking developed, things developed, and it took him a little bit longer to run. And that's the other thing. With this setup, he's going to have to wait to run with the quarterback. He can't just take off right away. Whereas with this setup here, he can probably go almost right away. He sees it, okay, boom. Drew Brees isn't the most agile guy in the league, obviously. Should probably be doing this the other way around. But let's just go ahead and try that again, just for example. Again, here, he sees everybody's drop back, so he just takes off right away. You know what I mean? And that's an easy 3 yards. If this was Cam or Vic or somebody, that's probably 5 or 6 yards. And that's the difference right there, just with the QB running. There's so many things you have to account for with usering. And these are the little things. That's why I'm trying to develop the mindset and the thought behind it so that you guys understand that as well when you're usering, because that is pretty much the key to usering successfully, is understanding the circumstances, knowing the situations, things like that. If it's late in the game and they've got to score really fast, your user is more likely, when you're trying to make a tackle, you're going to force them inside rather than outside. Whereas if you're down, you're probably going to, force them outside and try to get them out of bounds. So those are the types of things when user, and all these things are factors, and you have to account for all these separate things. So that brings me to where we are now. So again, if we're bringing a lot of pressure, let's say we run a play like this actually wouldn't be that bad of a play. Whereas if we do something like this, that's going to be a pretty bad play art, because we're not going to get any pressure. And pretty much as soon as Colston gets down the field, he's got all the time in the world. As soon as Colston's down there, just, he's just wide open. You know what I mean? Whereas if we bring a lot of pressure and do something like this, it might not be that bad of a defense. Because as I was saying before, if your pressure gets there quickly, the stuff down the field won't have too much time to develop. So where would he have went there? So now all the short stuff's covered up, and there's just no way that coasting route was going to develop. And that was a pretty sick blitz. Pretty lucky, but nonetheless, it was a sick blitz. But as you can see, I mean, he could have went to the flat, maybe got a couple yards. He could have possibly went to this guy here with like an inside pass lead, got a cool few yards there. But then that's where your user comes in. You go ahead and, run the same thing. Again, something like this. And now your user in Godfrey. So now they might want to go to that more pass. So you go ahead and take that away. And you take away that middle. And again, that's how you user. You have to know your defense. That's why I can't sit here and give you one sure way to play your defense, because it depends on circumstance. Defense is all about adjustments. It's all about circumstances and stuff like that. And that's how you got to play it. You got to play the situation. You have to play, the scenario, stuff like that. And you got to really know where your guys are. And that is why how fast your blitz gets there is huge. Because now this defense is good. But if I'm bringing a fast blitz and, they only need a few yards for completion, this defense is going to suck, because all they got to do now is just, go ahead and chuck it down. They got a cool 10, 15 yards like that. So that's why it's crucial to know, how fast your pressure is going to get there. Understand your plays. If you're bringing, 7 guys, you should really expect to be getting there in a couple seconds. And if not, you're running a really bad blitz. I mean, you really need to work on your blitzing skills, how you're going to be blitzing and stuff like that. But in this scenario here, we're bringing 7. We really only expect him to have a split second, a few seconds in the pocket, and he's going to have to get that throw out there. So if you can rush their passes, you can play those inside lanes and stuff. But again, if you're in that max coverage, trying to give him that same look, and you're using, now that deep down stuff is going to develop. So that is the key with this video here. This is less of a drill. This is more like that other video that we broke down the philosophies with the attributes and stuff like that. And the key to this is when you're using, know how much time they're expected in the pocket. You know, how likely is it they're going to QB run with the QB? If you run a defense like this, it is very unlikely that they're going to be able to take off with the quarterback, as you're going to see here. Even if we put Edwards back, you know, we're not even going to rush anybody. We're basically just going to contain, and QB spy. Yes, he could probably glitch out the spy there. But, again, it's a lot more difficult for him to take off, and they're not likely going to be able to go anywhere. So you got to account for that as well. So those are the two huge things. Know when your pressure is going to get there, and have a good idea. And also, are they going to be able to take off with the quarterback? And if they do take off with the quarterback, where are they going to go? If you have a defense like this, you know, they're going to probably take off to the right side. You know, that's where they're going to head. That's where they're going to probably try to make their play and scramble. And then vice versa. If you got a defense like this, they're probably going to roll to the left side. So as a user, you have to understand that. Probably not going to go up the middle. They got two guys they got to worry about. You know, they could probably take off now. But I'm saying, like, generally speaking, they're going to have to try to somewhat go towards the left side of the field. So hopefully this video, again, helped you guys out. I know I'm dragging on a bit. I'm going to try to cut it off here. So if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. And be sure to let people know about this series if they're struggling with user D. If you got friends that play Madden and, you know, they're trying to get better on the user skills and stuff like that, go ahead and let them know about this series. Till the next time, be sure to subscribe for more. This is your boy Monster Chappie, and we gets on.